The university wasn't in the family, full stop, anywhere, with any of the brothers and their families. But rather miraculously, according to the comments by my teachers, they were surprised that I got through, particularly the subject of Latin. All I can say is that again, it was Barbara's will. It was meant to be that I would. Yes. In the process, in order to pass, I somehow or other memorized 600 lines of Virgil. I mean, I don't even understand what I mean. All I know is that I really studied that text of Virgil's, and somehow or other, much to the amazement of the Latin teacher, I did pass. The important thing was that I did, and that therefore I was able to attend university. At 17, I finished high school, and although I worked as an office boy in a newspaper, I had no idea of what to do. I had no thoughts of a career that I wanted. Nothing at all. I had over those few years between the church at 14 and 17, I had, influenced by my sister again, as I said, 5 years older than me, and mixing with, she had sort of got to know artists and writers and poets and so forth, and attended certain groups, and I would tag along with her and participate in socialist meetings, communist meetings, music study groups, all sorts. On odd occasions. At 17, what did I have to look forward to? The war had, the Second World War had intensified, things weren't good. Japan had attacked America and was obviously invading South. And I decided to join the Army Medical Corps. I had no desire, the idea of fighting did not appeal to me one iota. I didn't want to hurt people, but I was happy to help in the medical corps. So I joined the Army at 17. And as then, well, after about, I think it was barely a year, in which I was continually in training. Nothing seemed to happen. I was in the one camp. I was bored. As a kid, I was bored. And I felt that there was nothing happening. So when an Air Force recruiting officer came round and invited us or whoever wished to join the Air Force, I stepped forward. And as a result of that, without thinking, I became a pilot. And it was only when I'd completed my training as a pilot and I realized, wait a minute, this is all very well, but this would mean dropping bombs and fighting, whatever role was given, and I didn't want to do that. I had no desire, but they accepted for some reason the the psychiatrist that examined me in this matter accepted that I was genuine. That's all I can say, is that they must have, because they allowed me to continue as a staff pilot, and so that I remained flying, which I enjoyed. No, I'm not going to talk about the fun things I did. I'm not leaving those for record. No, the thing is that that the important thing was that I did last out the war, and I was discharged in actually on August the 15th. That is a day after my birthday, which is the August the 14th, and as a result of having been in the services during the war, the government offered me £2 a week and the opportunity of attending university.
So this is 1945.
And this was later in 45. In the beginning, I was at home. Yes, there was a period of some months. I tried to. I remember doing something, some work, but the thought of being able to go to university, which didn't mean anything really to me, but the £2 a week did, and so I happily said yes, I'll go. I started in 1946, and I went with my brother-in-law. My sister, 5 years older than me, had married, and my brother-in-law had also been offered the same opportunity to go to university and be paid to do so. And I went with him, and he said, I'm going to enroll in the psychology school of psychology. And I said, oh, that'll do. That was how I established my career in life. I don't think if he'd said anything else, I would have probably followed that, because I had no clear idea of what I wanted to do. The only thing that seemed to persist over the years, and that was certainly during the war years too, whenever I had leave and I was with my parents, as I said, they were searching for a greater truth than they had found in the church. And as a result, they'd attended meetings of the Theosophical Society, Christian Science, certain small groups of Christianity, breakaway groups of Christianity. And whenever I had the opportunity, I would tag along with them. But none of it appealed to me. But at the same time, all I can say is that it was indicative of the fact that I still wanted to know what life was about. What was it, and particularly how God fitted in, the relationship of God to life. I wouldn't have thought of it. Now I can say that in my own blundering way, my own blind way, I was searching for truth. I wanted the truth of what life was about. The meaning of life, the purpose, the relationship of God to this everyday life that I was aware of. But that's how I found that I became a student in the School of Psychology at Melbourne University. Will I continue? Yes.
Have a night before maybe?
Yeah. At the same time, when I realized that psychology meant a study of the mind, a study of the human mind, this was, of course, of interest, but to my horror, or my growing horror, I should say, my growing concern, it was very superficial, and there was far too much statistics for my liking, far too much emphasis on superficial studies of the five senses and their effect in human nature. It was only at a certain level, and I felt I grew more and more dissatisfied, because I became aware, how could I continue and finish up as a psychologist and earn my living as a psychologist when I had no real knowledge of what life was about, and particularly the relationship of God to life, which I felt instinctively was essential to understanding what life was, or what it meant. And so, for example, I delved happily into Jung and Freud, and